What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today's video is all about what it's like to be a mechanic in 2021. Now, one of the things that I can't stand is there's this big mystique of, oh, well, if you're working with your hands, you're getting dirty, or you're doing some sort of type of trade work, it's not as desirable as getting a college degree. I'm here to tell you that is complete bullshit. I started my journey off flipping and fixing cars in my high school, when I was in high school, in my parents' driveway, and it slowly built into something where I started doing it as a full-time job, being a mechanic. Now, unfortunately, I was better off at talking, selling, and figuring out numbers than I was at being a mechanic, but I needed that mechanical experience to grow my business to the next level. So today we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons of becoming a mechanic in 2021 and why that they are highly needed in today's industry. Now, normally when we put out an ad for being a mechanic, we usually get maybe 30, 40 people, and that was probably about 10 years ago. Nowadays, you put out an ad for mechanic, you literally get nobody. We are so dying for quality mechanics and technicians. It is extremely hard. So if you're thinking about getting in the automotive industry, definitely watch this video the whole way through. I'm going to give you some of the tips and tricks that I used to grow my business, as well as actually get into the industry and have some fun, and also make some really great side money, because there are a lot of people that watch this channel and a lot of people out there that, that tinker with cars on the weekend and stuff like that. You have the prime skills to either become a mobile mechanic, make some side money as a side hustle, or if you want to flip cars on the side, buy a few cars with a few small mechanical damages, fix them up, put them online, make a couple $100 every time you sell a car. You have the ability to do that. So we're going to go over, like I said, the pros and cons and everything else. But before we do, if you can please gently squeeze the like button for the YouTube algorithm, it helps me find more amazing people like yourselves that enjoy automotive content. Also, if you consider subscribing, I post 3 times a week, so make sure you click the notification bell. Also, follow us on Instagram at automotive.life. We are posting all kinds of fun stuff there. Every time we go to the auction, we do a lot of funny videos. We're always talking to people, stuff like that. So that's pretty much, if you want to see daily content, definitely tune in there. And without any more shameless plugging, let's get into the video. So first, we're going to talk about the stigma that surrounds people being a mechanic or an automotive technician. A lot of people say, oh, well, you're going to be dirty, you're going to be a grease monkey, you're going to get your hands dirty, you got to use your brain, work smarter, not harder, and blah, blah, blah. There's no room for growth. I'm here to tell you that is complete, utter bullshit. If you have a passion for cars, or you love the automotive industry, and you have a little bit of a mechanical aptitude, proceed it. Go for it. You want to find out if being an automotive technician is for you. There's a lot of opportunities when it comes to this type of thing. One of the most desired jobs, or people that are out there looking for jobs right now, is being an automotive technician. If you literally come out of college, tech school, or you even like tinker in your garage and say, I'm a mechanic, I'm looking for a job, right away. We've been running ads for the last 2 years every week to find more quality technicians. If you follow us on Instagram, you see it all the time. Every time we grow, we're looking for more technicians. They're hard to find, because once people get them and they're good, they don't let them go. So there is definitely room to grow in this business, and there is a high demand for being an automotive technician. Now, the good thing is there are so many options to get started. They're endless. So if you're going to start your automotive journey, I usually tell people, tinker with your car around your driveway, play with some cars. If you got a few bucks, go buy like a $200, $300 car from like a tow yard auction, kind of tinker with it. Learn how to diagnose cars, build your toolbox, stuff like that. See if this industry is right for you, because some of these skills that you learn as an automotive technician or as a mechanic will benefit you all the way down through your lifetime. I remember we did a study where they showed that if people change their own brakes, they save I think it was like $10,000 through their own lifetime of all the repairs they do on their cars, from basically 20 years old all the way up to retirement. So even if you decide to do this and you don't go into that range, it gives you the mechanical aptitude to know what you're looking at when you come to buying cars. When the mechanic you take it to says, oh, you need this, and you can look at it and be like, no, I only need these 2 things. Don't try to oversell me. I know what's wrong with my car. So it's very important, and the generation before me, like with my dad and my grandparents and stuff like that, it was a hobby. People worked on their cars on the weekend. There was much more mechanical aptitude people back then. But nowadays, you see the memes. There's guys that can't even change spare tires now. It's embarrassing. As a grown man to another grown man that's watching this, If you cannot change your tire within 5 minutes in front of your girlfriend, your mom, or your family, you are no longer a man. Your man card's revoked. Tear that shit up, throw it away, because that is truly embarrassing. You know, I've had friends of mine call me and say, hey, Lucky, my tire blew out. I'm like, okay, well, I need to change my spare. Okay, we'll go into the trunk and swap it out. Oh, I don't know how. You know, can you come help me? I was like, did you really just ask another grown man to help another grown man change a tire because he doesn't have, you know, the testicle fortitude to actually go out and find the tire and change it himself? You know, you have to call people on that one, because that is super embarrassing. You know, so make sure, like I said, even if you're not super mechanically knowledgeable and you can't figure out crazy things, you need to know the basics. So even if you're not wanting to be a mechanic, just the fact if you want knowing like how to change your oil, how to check your oil, how to know which cars have dipsticks, which ones don't, how to change its spare tire, how to change your damn windshield wipers. This is embarrassing. I go to O'Reilly's and AutoZone all the time and I see people struggling to change their windshield wipers. Now, I'd never expect anybody to be a professional mechanic and blah, 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 but if you're on this car page and you're in a car club and you're a so-called car guy, and you can't change your damn windshield wipers, that is embarrassing. So, you know, but there's nothing wrong with that. If you start practicing, you start teaching, you start looking online, you start watching videos like this. You know, we're gonna be doing some really cool how-to videos here shortly. I think this weekend, we're gonna do one on how to actually use fiberglass. So, you know, you guys see me talk about rental cars, you guys see me talking about dealerships, you see me buying cars at the auction. Now we're gonna do a little more fun stuff when it comes to the mechanical aptitude stuff. We're gonna show you how to fabricate, weld, build some stuff. You're gonna see me actually get dirty and swap some motors. But that's some of the fun stuff that I try to do, so this way I don't lose all my skills. You know, I can stay relevant to what's going on in the industry. Plus, it's something that I actually enjoy. It's like therapy. So you'll see when we start building stuff, it's like a fun thing for me. Now, a lot of people wonder, how do I break into the automotive industry? Let's say you've been tinkering with cars on the side and you're like, okay, I like it, I have a passion for it. What should I do next? You know, just like, you know, being a masonry electrician, a plumber, you can be an apprentice with another automotive technician or a master tech. So a lot of times I recommend people going to a small mom and pop shop. You know, I know a lot of people go to the franchise store, which that's fine, which we're gonna go over their programs, but I prefer going to a small mom and pop shop first, because when you go to a regular shop, they work on everything, not just one car. So your mechanical knowledge will grow much, much faster at a different rate compared to, you know, if you work at a franchise store. Because franchise stores are usually working with much newer cars with less issues, so your learning curve is a little less steep, where you go to a used car lot or a small mom and pop's automotive repair shop, and they're getting all these beat up cars with 100, 200,000 miles, man, your learning curve is gonna go way up. You're gonna see what happens to all these cars with 5 to 10 years on them, the common problems, the most common issues, you know, stuff like that, which that stuff is huge for knowledge. Plus, you know, you sit side by side with the master tech and he tells you the tips and tricks of the trade. You know, this is the best, I guess, free education you can get. And the best part is, a lot of times they'll pay you maybe 8 to 10 bucks, maybe 15 bucks to sweep the shop, change some few oil changes. The master tech will say, okay, change the alternator, stuff like that. Don't be like frustrated. Don't be like, well, I know how to change an alternator. I want to do a head gasket. I want to learn to this. Shut up, listen to the master tech, follow his directions, slowly build your repertoire of what you're actually going to fix, plus your tool chest. You know, you want to make sure that you're gaining that knowledge and they're slowly testing you out, because you got to remember, as an automotive repair shop, every time my guys break something, guess who pays for it? Not them, me. So, you know, when you're working with a master tech, he's doing this on purpose to slowly train you, so this way you don't jump in, do a timing belt, miss a tooth, and all of a sudden you bend all these valves in a head, and then we're screwed, and it's an $800 job that's not coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of the owner's. So we don't want you to get fired, so just be patient, you know, practice with the master tech, you know, buy a few junk cars on the side, and start building, you know, your love and desire for the business. Now, one thing I'm gonna tell you too is build your damn toolbox. There's nothing worse than a mechanic borrowing your damn tools. You know, I've seen guys that are amazing mechanics, amazing technicians that could figure out just about any single problem, but they show up with a Harbor Freight toolbox that's about this big with a handful of wrenches and sockets and stuff like that. If you are gonna be an automotive professional, be a professional. You know, you don't have to get a Snap-on box. I'm not saying that. You can get a nice box from Harbor Freight. You know, put your tools in there. I'd rather see you buy $500 worth of tools from Harbor Freight, then $500 from Snap-on, because that'll be like 2 screwdrivers and a socket wrench. That'll be it when it comes to actually stuff from Snap-on. But if you get a good amount of tools for $500 from Harbor Freight, that can start you off on multiple jobs. And there's nothing worse than being in the middle of a job and then finding out you don't have the tool for it. Now, as you start to get down your journey, once you're I'd say about a year into it, that's when you buy like the specialty tools. So don't buy anything in the beginning like that. I strongly recommend you build, all the stuff you get, your short extensions, your long extensions, your ratchets, your gear ratchets. If you want to buy a torque wrench, I recommend getting one of those in the beginning because you're going to need it. But anything crazy, like specialty tools, don't buy any of that stuff. Get a regular OBD2 scanner. Don't get anything crazy until you've, built a little bit of experience. If you're diagnosing stuff on the side, then I would recommend getting a decent tablet, so this way you can start your process of learning how to do it. You don't have to have a $10,000 scanner to fix and diagnose cars. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, what's the best way to get into like a certain desired thing? Now, when I say automotive repair, there's a bunch of things you can do. You can do what's called heavy line, which there's guys out there that just swap motors and trannies all day long. If you love that and you just want to bang stuff out, there's definitely a position for you. You have your like driveline people, which is basically wheels, brakes, axles, suspension, stuff like that. They mostly focus on that. Then you have your like diagnosticians. These guys they're usually one per shop. His job is to actually go around to all the cars and figure out what's wrong with the cars, and then tell each tech what's wrong with the car so they could fix it. So if you have a really high IQ when it comes to fixing cars, and you're really good with electrical diagrams, and you know how to read a scanner, then start to study to be a diagnostician, because they make insane money. I remember the guy at our other shop, I think he was clearing about 12 grand a month because he was the best. Any car that came in, man, he figured out in just a few minutes. This needs this needs this. So we would buy cars at the auction purposely because people were like, I fixed it, I couldn't figure it out, I fixed it, I swapped the ECU, I did this, I couldn't figure it out. He would figure it out. So, like I said, that's one of the other ranges for that. Another one is actually transmissions. Now, this is something I'm going to tell you guys right now. If I would have known about this when I was younger, I definitely would have went with transmissions. If you can learn how to fix transmissions, that's something you can literally do from your house, and you can make an insane amount of money. So if any transmission guys are watching this, please put it in the comment section below. I've watched these guys, especially on Chevy transmissions, tear these things apart in less than an hour, fix them, put them back together, $1,500. And they have a line of them. We ended up getting a really good transmission guy when I opened up my first shop, and we didn't ever mess with transmissions. And he kept telling me, he's like, dude, just go get a transmission. So back then we used to buy these like Buick Park Avenues, these Pontiac Bonneville, stuff like that, where the trannies would start slipping. He wouldn't even take the transmission out. A lot of these Chevy trannies, once you take the wheel and suspension out, you can get in through the side and pull it apart. So he would pull drums out, gears, replace a few clutch discs, put it back together, slap it in there, replace the solenoid. Okay, cool, you're into the car like $70 in parts, and it's running and driving again. Where most of us would have went to the junkyard, paid $800 for transmission, paid $250 or $350 to get it swapped out, and the profit margin would be very thin. Where these guys, I mean, it was amazing. We were buying certain cars. He would say, oh, these Buicks have this solenoid problem. Just buy it. Everybody thinks it's a bad transmission, but it's just the solenoid problem. So we're buying all these cars with bad, slipping transmissions, banging in gears, and he would literally replace a $25 solenoid, and the cars would be up and running. Now, if you can learn transmissions, I'm telling you right now, go find out. If you want to get into it, go find a local transmission shop. Tell them you want to be an apprentice, you want to sweep the shops, everything else. It is a stupid amount of money. When our transmission guy, he had some health issues, so he couldn't come to work anymore, but we actually used to drop transmissions off at his house. And he had just a regular house with one bay garage. Inside his garage, he had his pressure washer all set up where he can clean his parts. He had all these extra clutch discs, parts, valve bodies, everything else against the side of the wall. And he had a table probably about this size where he builds all of his stuff. And I asked him, I was like, well, how many transmissions do you do a week? And he's like, well, I do about 3 transmissions a day. And I was like, wow. I go, how much do you charge? He's like, well, I usually get about $500 for labor, and then they pay for parts. So he had a system where he would literally just bang these things out for $500 each, and whatever the parts cost was, that's what it was. BMWs, Audis, Volkswagens, Ford, Chevy transmissions, didn't matter, whatever. He's like, $500 and whatever the parts are, and I'll knock it out. He had every dealership here in Las Vegas beating on his door. So if you want to get into automotive industry, definitely check out transmissions. That's something that a lot of people don't ever look at, and that's very huge. So now we're going to go on to, how you can grow from just being a mechanic. Now, once you start, like I said, your journey in the automotive industry and you start fixing cars and you gain those knowledge, there's going to be different opportunities presented to you. One is you're going to be able to become a master tech, which once you get really good at fixing cars, you could fix anything. And the best part of that is that's when you start your side hustle of flipping cars. If you are a mechanic or you have decent mechanical skills, you can almost double your monthly income with just flipping cars on the side. You have a huge advantage compared to just about everybody else. I can't tell you how many times we go out and buy a car and, oh, the timing belt broke, I don't want to mess with it. And we know the difference between an interference head and a non-interference head, so we know that there's no bent valves. We just put the timing belt back on, clean it up, take it out the door, and you make $600-700 within maybe 2 hours of work. That's the ability you're going to have. Now after that, you're going to become a shop manager. You're going to manage different mechanics. You're going to know how long it's going to take to fix it. You can start budgeting people out. Most shop managers, if you're at, let's say, a small mom and pop repair shop, you're probably going to make anywhere from maybe $50,000 to $75,000 a year if you're just starting off and you're pretty decent. Now if you're good and you go to like a franchise store or something like that, then you're going to be making probably close to maybe $75,000 to $125,000 a year. Now once you really get open and you know what you're doing and you're really good at diagnosing, then you open up your own repair shop and then you hire technicians underneath you, guys that are good enough to take parts off but not master techs themselves. So you keep costs low. You go in, you diagnose all the cars. So let's say you have a 5-bay shop, you line up all 5 cars. Okay, this one needs a transmission, this one needs a starter, this one needs an alternator, this one has a PCM problem. Let's go ahead and program it. So you tell each of your helpers, your techs, to do this, do this, do this, and all of a sudden now you're making the money at 5 techs with just one shop, and you basically grow your business from there. So there are a lot of ways where you can make some serious money. Now after that, the next one is like consulting, kind of like what I do. There's a lot of automotive consultants where once they learn the trade and they're really good at it, they're pretty much a hired gun. They can go into an automotive repair shop, they can say, this tech doesn't know anything, this guy doesn't know anything, kick him out, hire him. You can reset up people's shops. You could charge anywhere from $8,000 to $20,000. We do that quite a bit when it comes to revamping shops, and people will pay for it because they know that once that money starts flowing in and those repairs start coming in, they'll bang them out. Most repair shops are making anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 a day in repairs. So when people drive by, a Jiffy Lube and they're like, I don't see how these guys stay open. Don't worry, they're making money. They're killing it. You just don't see it. So they don't see how much money you can make in the industry. Now, we talked a little bit about the independent side. Let's go in the franchise side. Now, franchise is good because they have a structured plan for newbies or people that want to become an automotive technician, but there are some downsides to it. So the first one is you're only allowed to do what's in the lot. So let's say you're at a Ford dealership. You're usually only going to work on Fords unless you actually work for the used car manager, and you can work on some of the other ones. But the good news is you get quality training step by step by step. You will not grow as fast as you will in an independent store. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. But if you have, let's say you love Ford or you love Chevy or love Honda or Toyota, whatever your love is, they will teach you every single thing on their vehicles from start to finish, and they're very detailed. And the best thing is they have classes. So if you start out as a lube tech, they're going to try you out for a few months. Don't rush it. Don't say I want to become a master tech overnight. They're not going to do it. They're going to make sure that you don't screw up in oil changes. You take care of cars. Lube guys, if you're watching this, wash your damn hands. Do not get the customer cars dirty. You don't think we notice, but every service manager, if he sees you with like gloves on and you're putting the plastic bags over the seats, we're going to love you. But if you don't do it, then you're pretty much going to get fired because we know that you're a sloppy technician. So make sure that you pay attention to that and keep the damn car clean. Anyways, so after about 6 months of them making sure that you don't screw that up and you don't blow up any cars, they're probably going to try you on some small stuff. They're going to stick you in the used car section, tell you to work on some of the trade-ins, some of the cars they got from the auction, but you get that factory training where they're going to send you to classes. So once you become an actual official tech, you're going to go what's on flag rate. Now, flag rate is a good thing and a bad thing. When you're a newbie, it sucks because you're not as fast as the senior techs. So a 3-hour job could take you 6 hours, but that's okay. That's part of the business, because once you get good, and you'll see some of these techs, we had these guys that were doing, when I worked at Ford, we had 6.0 recall. I don't know if you guys know the 6.0 diesel, absolute junk. And it paid, I think it was 37 hours to pull the actual cab off, take the heads off, and send it back in there. So 2 of the mechanics used to get a helper, and they basically would bang these things out in 12 hours. So they would take the cab off, pull the heads off, do the head gaskets, put the new APR stud of the heads in there, put it back in, slap it together, get it out. So they were getting 37 an hours for every 12 hours. So with them and a helper, they're able to accomplish that. Now, once you get good, flag rate is the best, because you can absolutely crush it when it comes to that. You can literally get 200 hours in a week if you hustle enough. I've seen techs do it. It's not that hard. Well, it is hard, don't get me wrong, but it's mostly experience and knowledge. So I recommend, like I said, starting off with the franchise store. Like I said, you have a great opportunity. Every class they offer you, take it. Anytime they want you to do any type of shitty work, take it. Don't be too grown or too proud to do something small. Because like I said, most service managers and shop managers know that. And once you become like an assistant to one of the master techs and they like you, they'll start dishing off, like if they get an alternator, they don't want to mess with it, so they'll dish it off to you. And then you start getting your knowledge and everything else. And then once a specialty thing comes up, like hybrids, like when there was a hybrid classes, I was the only one that went to them because nobody wanted to go to them. They're like, hybrids are stupid, they're never gonna last, And so now I got to learn some of the ins and outs and know which cars have most common problems where they don't, So make sure you take every single class that they offer you. Now, the next thing we're gonna talk about that's bad in the actual automotive industry is, like I said, also flag rate when it comes to back charging. If you fix a car and you don't do it right and you rush through it just trying to get your money, it's called back flagging. So let's say I fix a car and I got 10 hours of pay for doing this one particular job, and I didn't do it right. And all of a sudden the car comes back, let's say I did, I don't know, a transmission, and now it's leaking. If it's on my day off, whoever actually fixes the car, let's say it takes them 6 hours to fix it, they bill the 6 hours to me, and now that comes out of my paycheck. But if you're there, you're basically, you could fix your own fuck ups and you can go ahead and fix the car and move forward. So, you not only want to go fast, but you want to make sure you do it correctly, so this way you don't have comebacks, because that's probably one of the biggest things that most automotive shops hate. Technicians, also service managers and owners. This is something you really, really need to cater to. If you see something, oh, well, you know what, I could probably change this, but the customer doesn't want to, it's going to take an extra 20 minutes, I don't want to mess with it, do it. Show the customer, spend the extra time, charge him an extra 10 bucks. It doesn't matter, he'll thank you for it, and the car won't break down a month later and they'll be upset that they just spent maybe $600-700 with you and their car's still acting up. So make sure you go the extra mile and learn those type of things, and don't get back flagged for hours and stuff like that, because it is a pain in the butt. Now, I know I rambled a little bit, but it was really just the fact of, sitting with young people and talking about it, because I get a bunch of people that are like, Lucky, I want to flip cars. I want to be a dealer. Okay, cool. What's your mechanical knowledge? Oh, I don't have any. I don't want to touch cars. I don't want to get dirty. I'm like, this is a dirty industry. You're going to need to learn these things so this way you don't get screwed at the actual auction. Now, I make fun of dealers all the time, and I know some of you guys are watching probably going to laugh, is most dealers are lazy as hell. They don't check the oil. They don't just jump in the cars, blah, blah, blah. They literally, they take out their phone, they run up to the car, they scan it with the app, and they're like, oh, okay, car's worth $7,000. I'll bid $7,000. Where me, I'll look at the car, I'll start it, I'll drive it, I'll test a few things, and I'll be like, oh man, this car's got, issues, maybe a low voltage problem, transmission's taking too long to go in reverse, could go bad in about 10,000 miles, I'm not gonna mess with it. And that's why all these dealers are stupid and they're overbidding on cars. So every time you hear me saying, oh man, these dealers are overpaying on cars, 9 times out of 10, it's because they have no mechanical aptitude. They don't know shit about cars. They all think they're smart. They all think they know more than everybody else, but they don't take the time to learn their craft. Nobody wants to get dirty anymore. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I like dressing up like this, but you'll laugh. I have a lab coat and gloves in my car, because when I go out to look at cars, I'll bring my scanner. I have a bag of tools. Even in the Audi R8, people think I'm joking. I'll pull up in there, in almost a $200,000 car, pull a tool bag out, put on my lab coat, put on my gloves, and start playing with cars, you know, to see what's going on, to see if I can make some money on it. But that's the difference between somebody that's really into it compared to somebody that just kind of wants to be a dealer and just flipping cars and being flashy. So, you know, keep this in mind. There is nothing wrong with getting dirty. You know, don't think that it's a stigma that's something that's bad, because like I said, everybody that's sitting their ass on the side of the road when their car's broken down and they don't even realize that maybe it's something simple like a fuse or a hose blew off and they can't even fix it themselves, you know, laugh at those people and do it on purpose, because I think everybody needs to learn a little bit about automotive repair. We all had this in high school. You know, we all went to classes. They offer it, but a lot of people just don't do it. Now everybody wants to be car guys and be the cool guy and I know everything about cars and blah, blah, blah. That's cool. I'm not saying you have to go out and change superchargers in your garage. Change a tire, change oil, you know, get a little project car. I'll tell you what, there's so many great guys and kids that are coming out right now, because, you know, I follow some of you guys on some of these blogs. Like there's one kid that's doing an LS swap in a Hyundai Tiburon. You know, this kid is 16 years old. He's doing all the wiring himself. He built the motor himself and everything else. You know, now if he drives it and it blows up in a month, that's fine, but he's doing it himself. He's trying. He's not paying somebody else to do it. There's nothing wrong with educating yourself with the automotive industry. So anyway, sorry about my rant. I had a bunch of calls, like I said, people saying this stuff, you know, they want to learn more about cars. And when I tell them to go out and work at an automotive repair shop, they're like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this. I'd rather just flip cars. Don't flip cars unless you know how to fix cars. Don't be a dealer unless you know how to work on some cars. And not saying, like I said, you don't have to be a master tech, you just have to know enough. Anyways, rant's over. If you guys learned anything, please smash the like button. I truly appreciate it. Also, if you could follow us on Instagram at automotive.life, I truly appreciate that as well. Like I said, we're actually posting some auction videos as we speak. We're going to go out and buy some cars. Make sure you subscribe. We are posting 3 times a week, and you don't want to miss any of that, so click the notification bell. And thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.